Thank you. Excellencies, President Biden, and honorable heads of state. My name is Xiye Bastida. I am a climate justice activist born and raised in Mexico. I am one of the many young people who have already been impacted by the climate crisis, such as when my hometown was hit by flooding in 2015. I come to this summit knowing that I cannot possibly communicate all of the youth voices that should be here, as I am the only one of two who will be addressing you today. As much as it is a great opportunity, it is also a great responsibility. I did not want to stand here and read our concerns and demands, because if you had been listening, you would know what they are. Nevertheless, I think that it is important for all of us to be on the same page from now and moving forward. The climate crisis is the result of those perpetuating and upholding the harmful systems of colonialism, oppression, capitalism, and market-oriented greenwash solutions. The 40 leaders who are in this summit are in the majority from the global north, which has historically perpetuated these systems. The communities who are the most affected, those who have endured displacement because of drought, flooding, wildfires, crop failure, and human rights abuse, are not fully represented here today. Solutions must be aligned with the fact that climate justice is social justice. We can no longer keep having summits and conversations around what needs to change, because we already have all of the solutions that we need. So all we have to do is implement them. The fossil fuel industry and the systems that uphold the climate crisis rely on the existence of sacrifice zones. And these sacrifice zones have been intentionally picked to target the global south and Black and brown communities in the global north. This is why when it comes to sustainable solutions, we youth need to participate in decision-making spaces to ensure that the green economy track will not be replicating systems of exploitation and creating new sacrifice zones, because this is already happening in many regions of the world. Green economy with business as usual would severely affect frontline Black, brown, and indigenous communities. You need to accept that the era of fossil fuels is over. We need a just transition to renewables worldwide so that we can stop emitting carbon and focus on drawing down carbon. But most importantly, all of these solutions must be implemented with the voices of frontline Black, brown, and indigenous communities as leaders and decision makers. We demand that you stop fossil fuel investments and subsidies. We demand that you stop any new fossil fuel infrastructure and existing fossil fuel extraction, including pipelines. We demand comprehensive, non-Eurocentric, and intersectional climate education, including literacy on climate justice, environmental racism, ancestral and indigenous wisdom, on historical movements, disability justice, green careers, and sustainable living. We demand that you stop systematically targeting the global south and Black and brown and indigenous communities through environmental plunder, the exploitation of our lands, and neoliberal policies. We demand to get to net zero emissions by 2030, not net zero by 2050, including concrete plans regarding how to get there by annual binding carbon budgets. We demand that countries increase their commitments to be in line with the Paris Agreement target of 1.5 degrees of warming, which is already a compromise for the Arctic, the Amazon rainforest, island nations, and much of the African continent. Here's where we hope that all countries replicate President Biden's commitment to cutting carbon emissions in half by 2030, because we must. We demand that global North countries recognize climate migrants as such. We demand that governments enact policies to protect land defenders and acknowledge our right to peaceful protest and mobilization. You will often tell us again and again that we are being unrealistic and unreasonable. But who is being unrealistic and unreasonable with unambitious, non-bold, so-called solutions? You are the ones creating and finding loopholes in your own legislations, resolutions, policies, and agreements. You are the naive ones if you think we can survive this crisis in the current way of living. You are the pessimists if you don't believe we have what it takes to change the world. If you want to know why youth activists are rising up, it's because we're striving for joy. Joy for our communities and future generations. The climate crisis is so violent and it has exacerbated so much injustice. It is time that you stop thanking us for being activists. It's time for all of us to rise together and recognize that the climate crisis is not only the biggest challenge that humanity has ever faced, but it is also the biggest opportunity that we have to change the world. To end, please keep in mind that throughout the summit, the Fridays for Future is holding a summit on April 23rd to say the things we want the whole world to know. My generation is making sure that there are alternative, inclusive, and radical discourses. In order for this summit to have an impact, it is imperative that our demands are recognized and implemented. It is not enough to ask what world we are delivering to future generations, but what generations we are delivering to the world. As youth, we want to make sure that we can continue to live in harmony with Mother Earth. Until we see the necessary paradigm shift, we will keep demanding holistic solutions, and most importantly, we will be watching and we will be organizing. Thank you for your time.